He didn't want to shake his hand.
When I tell people I really want to go in there and break his face, this is exactly what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. All that stuff you said about me, and everybody said that I was ducking David Morrell.
Boxing fans, brace yourselves. We're about to witness a clash that could redefine the super middleweight division and moving up to the 175-pound division. David Benavidez versus David Morrell is like throwing a stick of dynamite and gunpowder. Then boom, we got a dogfight.
Welcome to the Faces of Boxing Podcast TV. And thank you to all my fight fans for tuning in to this fight sanctioned in at the 175-pound division. So, Cairo, what makes you think it's going to be such a game changer from the 168-pound division?
Well, it's the classic matchup of styles that always gets the blood pumping. You've got Benavidez, the Mexican monster, with his relentless pressure and devastating power, going up against Morrell, the Cuban technician with lightning-fast hands and a boxing IQ that's off the charts.
That's a recipe for fireworks if I've ever heard one. But let's break it down a bit. What can you tell us about Benavidez's track record?
So Benavidez is coming into this fight with an impressive 29 wins, no losses, with 24 of those wins coming by way of knockout. That's an 83% KO rate, which is just insane. He's a 3-time WBC super middleweight champion, and at 26 years old, he's already established himself as one of the most feared fighters in the division.
Those are some serious numbers. And what about Morrell? He's got fewer fights under his belt, right?
Exactly. Morrell's pro record stands at 11 wins, no losses, and 9 KOs. Now, some might look at that and think he's not ready for a fighter of Benavidez's caliber, but, and this is crucial, Morrell had an extensive amateur career in Cuba. We're talking about a guy who won gold at the 2016 Youth World Championships and was a standout in the World Series of Boxing.
Oh, so he's got that classic Cuban boxing pedigree. That explains a lot about his style.
Absolutely. And speaking of style, let's dive into how these two match up physically. Benavidez stands at 6'2" with a 77-inch reach, while Morrell is just an inch shorter at 6'1", but actually has a slight reach advantage at 78 inches.
Interesting. So Morrell's got that extra inch of reach. Could that be a factor in keeping Benavidez at bay?
It could be, but here's the thing. Benavidez is a master at cutting off the ring. He's like a predator stalking his prey, constantly applying pressure and not giving his opponents room to breathe. In his last fight against Caleb Plant, Benavidez threw a whopping 1,024 punches over 12 rounds. That's an average of 85 punches per round.
Wow, that's a punishing pace. How do you think Morrell will handle that kind of volume?
Well, that's the main thing that fight fans want to know, isn't it? Morrell's got the footwork and defensive skills to potentially neutralize Benavidez's aggression. In his fight against Aidas Yerbasinelli, Morrell showed he can stick and move, landing precise counters while avoiding damage. But he's never faced someone with Benavidez's relentless pressure and power.
So if we're looking at key strengths, for Benavidez it's his pressure and volume, and for Morrell it's his speed and counterpunching. Is that right?
Spot on. And don't forget Benavidez's body work. It's absolutely brutal. Remember his fight against David Lemieux? Benavidez just chopped him down with vicious hooks to the body. By the third round, Lemieux looked like he'd been hit by a truck.
Damn. Yeah, that's not something you can really prepare for, is it? But Morrell's got some tricks up his sleeve too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Morrell's southpaw stance is going to be a real puzzle for Benavidez to solve. And his ability to create angles, man, it's something else. In his fight against Alantez Fox, Morrell was slipping punches and countering from positions that seemed impossible. It was like watching a magician at work.
So, what do you think the strategies will be for each fighter? How does Benavidez approach this?
For Benavidez, it's all about imposing his will. He needs to close the distance, use that jab to disrupt Morrell's rhythm, and just keep coming forward. He wants to make this fight a war of attrition, and those body shots we talked about, they're going to be crucial in slowing Morrell down.
And for Morrell?
Morrell needs to use every bit of that Cuban boxing schooling. He's got to establish his jab early, use his footwork to create angles and make Benavidez miss. Every time Benavidez lunges in, Morrell needs to make him pay with sharp counters. It's a classic Matador versus Bull scenario.
That makes sense. But here's a wild card. What if Morrell decides to meet fire with fire? We've seen him be aggressive before.
If Morrell tries to stand and trade with Benavidez, we could be in for a short night. It's not that Morrell can't punch. He's got 9 KOs in 11 fights after all. But Benavidez is on another level when it comes to power and durability. Remember, this is a guy who walked through Caleb Plant's best shots like they were nothing.
So you're saying Morrell's best bet is to stick to his guns and outbox Benavidez?
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. Can Morrell keep that up for 12 rounds? Benavidez is like the Terminator. He just keeps coming. In the later rounds, when fatigue sets in, it becomes harder to maintain that perfect technique and movement.
That's a great point. So how do you see this fight playing out?
Well, I think we're going to see Morrell have success early. His speed and movement are going to give Benavidez problems in the first few rounds. But as the fight wears on, I expect Benavidez's pressure and body work to start taking their toll. By the middle rounds, we might see Morrell slowing down, and that's when Benavidez will really start to take over.
So you're leaning towards a Benavidez win?
Yeah, I am. I think Benavidez by late stoppage or unanimous decision. But, and this is a big but, I wouldn't be shocked if Morrell pulls off the upset. He's got the skills to do it if he can execute his game plan perfectly.
It's going to be a nail-biter, that's for sure. Any final thoughts on what fans should watch out for?
Keep an eye on the body work from both guys. If Benavidez can land those hooks to the midsection consistently, it could be a long night for Morrell. On the flip side, if Morrell can time Benavidez coming in and laying clean counters, we might see Benavidez get frustrated and make mistakes.
Well, this fight can't come soon enough. It's got all the makings of a classic.
Said it. It's fights like these that remind us why we love this sport. The clash of styles, the strategic chess match, the raw power and skill on display is what boxing is all about.
Absolutely. And regardless of who comes out on top, the real winners are the fans. We're in for a treat.
Couldn't agree more. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Remember to tune in for our post-fight analysis, where we'll break down all the action and see how our predictions held up. Thanks for tapping into the Faces of Boxing Podcast TV. Until next time, keep your guard up and head on the swivel.
And that's gonna let everybody know who the fuck the Mexican Monster is.
En California no lo hiciste. En California no lo hiciste. Yo ando solo, papi. Yo ando solo. Vas a ver, pendejo.
I'm not playing. We're gonna bring it to him.